Today, we are opening up the conference with some words from Marie-Hélène Brisson, who is here from Parks Canada. Marie-Hélène has been with Parks Canada since 2015 and is currently the Acting Director for Visitor Experience. Her presentation will be delivered half in French and half in English. Audio interpretation and captions will be provided based on the language channel selected by each attendee. Welcome, Marie-Hélène.
Thank you, Alison. I'm Marie-Hélène. I'm the acting director for Parks Canada. I'm a white woman and I have red hair. Today, I'm wearing a wonderful green sweater, which is actually Parks Canada uniform. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm extremely pleased to be here today to present the agency to us to speak about our structure and the work that we conduct in terms of accessibility for our infrastructure, for the visitor experience. I'm accompanied with a number of colleagues who are also taking part in this meeting.
So, as Alison mentioned, my name is Marie-Hélène Brisson. I'm the Director for Visitor Experience at Parks Canada. I am a white woman. I have red hair. Today, I am wearing a beautiful green shirt, which is the Parks Canada uniform. My pronouns are she and her. I'm really happy to be with you today to be able to share a bit of the structure of the agency and the work that we're currently doing in visitor experience at Parks Canada.
I'm going to start in French. I know that's a number of changes for the interpreters, but I thank you very much for your patience.
Merci. Donc, l'Agence Parcs Canada est en
So
fait
Parks Canada is the first organization of national parks in the world. We are there for more than 100 years. My presentation on the first slide shows the extent and the size of the agency. I know that in the next few days and tomorrow, yesterday we also spoke a great deal about national parks, but Parks Canada is far larger than that. And those who work in my team at the national office on the ground work with a number of different facilities, so I do want to mention them today as well. We're the biggest conservation agency in the country. We're a leader in the protection of natural resources and heritage resources in the country, and we're the most important provider of heritage tourism products in Canada. Overall, let me give you a few numbers to give you an idea. 171 national historic sites. We have 5 national marine conservation areas, 47 national parks, 1 national urban park, and others will be built soon. 7,500 dedicated employees. We're responsible for 20 of Canada's World Heritage Sites. We cover 450,000 square kilometers of areas that are protected. We have more than 7,000 kilometers of trails, 25 on average million visits per year. As well, we monitor more than 200 plus species at risk. As well, we have more than 12,000 campsites to reserve each year. We're in charge of more than $26 billion of assets in infrastructures. As well, just a store, we're also responsible for more than 600 wonderful red chairs that are present throughout the countries, all across Canada.
Merci.
Thank you. On this slide, and let me explain what this is. This is a map of Canada. And that is for the purpose of today's conversation. It illustrates where we have national parks, as well as marine conservation areas. And on this map, we see that we have the southernmost point and the highest one in the north, and we also handle the coastal areas, east and west, as well as the marine conservation areas that are present in all of the provinces and territories. So that's a vast territory that Parks Canada has to cover. What is our legislative mandate? It's two-sided, and I'll read this out and I'll explain it. On behalf of the people of Canada, we protect and present national significant examples of Canada's natural and cultural heritage. and foster public understanding, appreciation, and enjoyment in ways that ensure their ecological and commemorative integrity for present and future generations. That's a lot of information in a brief text. So how we work to ensure that our mandate is relevant to visitors as well is that we do this on the basis of experiences. People who come to us at Parks Canada, we want to ensure that they have memorable experiences. And by having a wonderful experience, we develop a sense of belonging. And by doing this, we develop support for a specific site. And at the end of the day, when you support a site, we're encouraging the protection of that site. Next slide, please. So it is a meaningful visit and sustainable development. Again, I know that I'm repeating myself a little bit. That is when one has a meaningful experience and feels safe, and that you're experiencing a wonderful time with families and friends. You develop a sense of belonging that will be specifically linked to a specific site, whether this be a historical site or a park. And this leaves us with memories. And this enables us to also develop a sense of responsibility vis-a-vis that area. And at the end of the day, it fosters the desire to protect it. And that is really what we're about. A visitor comes to the park, let's say, and if they feel that they belong to this, as we do, they feel afterwards much more encouraged to continue protecting these sites, to visit them, to speak about them. And as I say, it just ensures the sustainability of these Parks Canada sites, which at the end of the day belong to all Canadians.
Next slide. And I will be switching to English for the translators. I'll just take a sip of water and I'll continue. Okay, so I wanted to explain also the variety of facilities that we have. Again, I know that we're talking about national parks mostly for the conferences for the 3 days, but the reality is that the teams at Parks Canada, they can be one moment dealing with a national historic site, the next a marine conservation area or a national park, and those skill sets are transferable. So I wanted to cover with you today in national historic sites the type of facilities that we have. So we're talking about lighthouses, tunnels, historical monuments, vessels, bastions and batteries for the historic sites we have that are related to military history, fortifications. We've got plenty of different styles of buildings and historic waterways, such as the Rideau Canal, for those of you who have been in Ottawa before. Next slide. Merci. So for national parks, national marine conservation areas, again, a variety of infrastructure related to our visitors, such as like campgrounds. It could be front country, back country. We also have roofed accommodations that are reservable for our visitors, visitor centers, infrastructure, shelters, washrooms, trails and lookouts. We've got golf courses, playgrounds, marinas, launches for boats, beaches. Lots of different types of interpretation, exhibits, and signage across the country, gathering and event spaces. We have lots of diverse day use areas and picnic areas for our visitors, as well as hot springs. In each of the facilities that I just described, we have programs and services for visitors. So it varies from information gathering, interpretation, could be different programs and workshops for a variety of age groups. We have rental equipment, also equipment accessible for people with disabilities, a variety of information on our website as well. That's a service. Transportation and tours is available across the country for various activities. Again, events and celebrations are available for visitors at any time. We have our visitor safety teams that are there to ensure safety for all of our visitors. And we have a great volunteering program as well that Canadians can contribute to and participate, but also as a visitor, when you come, you would be bound to work or be taking an activity often with some of our volunteer groups. That's in a nutshell, what we do, which is, I feel a bit exhausted explaining it, it's a lot for such a small but powerful team. So our challenges in terms of accessibility for the Accessible Canada Act, making such a vast and diverse agency accessible by 2040 will be a challenge, but a challenge that we want to take on. Dealing with the diverse terrain and like the realities that are different everywhere across the country, remoteness is definitely one of the challenges for our teams. We'll have to work to determine what the priorities will be, where we start. We are doing some work right now in national office, but also in our field units and our sites to determine what our gaps are and where we should be starting. We have to manage a consistently aging infrastructure facilities. So that's definitely another challenge for our organization. Lots of our infrastructure dates back 400 years ago. So definitely not everything was accessible at that time. And again, we have to balance a variety of priorities for the agency, such as conservation and climate change and climate adaptation. So the approach we've been taking over the last few years has been to recognize that it will be impossible for us to make everything everywhere accessible for everyone. What we are focusing on is providing meaningful experiences to our visitors, to make it worth their time to experience our sites and create that connection I was just talking about. We identify and we prioritize what is important and what we want to feature for our visitors. Again, trip planning is important. That's one of our focuses for everybody. So we'll be working on providing the right information on our website and on sites so that people with disability can decide if they can do these activities, and engage with visitors and partners and researchers to help guide our work. Thank you. So just quickly, a couple documents that are guiding us and help us guide our colleagues in the field. CSA standards, we've got the Treasury Board Accessibility Standard for Real Property. Parks has a variety of directives that we've created. The one that we're really proud of, it's the only one in the federal government. It's the Inclusive Sanitary Facility Directive that we've put in place as of last year. We have front country camping design manuals, trail guidelines, as well as access series documents that we can use to work and make some of our activities and services more accessible. Conscious of time, I'm going to give you a few, I want time for questions. So here's a few initiatives that we've been working on over the last few years, and some of you may have worked with Shira on our team. I know she's very well connected. So we have, as an agency led by our HR colleagues, Parks Canada has done an accessibility plan for the next few years, so guiding us in where what we're moving towards, not only for visitors, but also for employees So that's one of the things. We've also adapted our training for inclusive service for employees who interact daily with visitors. We are also doing evaluations on existing programming with our colleagues in the parks and the sites. We're doing as well, working with our web colleagues, doing a trip planning, as I mentioned, to adapt the information on our website so that the person can make an informed decision themselves without us just pretty much saying this is accessible or this is not. Next slide, thank you. We are working right now on a collection of trail data, which is really interesting to inform those pieces of information that we share with visitors. Again, develop more inclusive and accessible washrooms, working with what we currently have as infrastructure. Not everything has to cost $30,000 to renovate. There's smaller things that we can do to make our washroom facilities inclusive and accessible. So that's one other element we're working on. We have now a program that's going to used to be a pilot project, but we're going to keep the program for accessible equipment, such as wheelchairs for beaches, for example. And we're doing improvements on our roof accommodations, which we call Authentics, to make them all accessible for everyone. So in a nutshell, those are our challenges. Those are and some of the different initiatives we've been working on over the last 2 years. I'm happy to take questions. For me today, I'm really happy to be able to be here. I would love to see you. That would make this a bit more interactive. But I'm looking forward to connect with some of you and work with you in the near future on making our experiences at Parks Canada meaningful for everyone.
Thank you so much, Marie-Hélène. We are so thrilled to have you here as well today. That was fantastic. We do have some questions coming in from the audience. From Joan, they're asking, how do you go about doing your accessibility evaluations? Is it outsourced to contractors? Does Parks Canada have internal staff doing them?
So at the national office level, we have one great person. I just mentioned Shira because I feel like everybody knows her. But so we can do some ourselves and internally, but a lot of them are outsourced. I know that at the Rouge, for instance, they worked with Access Now. Other field units have worked with consultants. I believe some of the guest speakers that are coming in for the conference have been working with Parks Canada as well. We can't do this all alone, and it's important that we work with partners and people from outside of our organization too, to be able to input and just not look at ourselves as well.
Absolutely. There's such a wealth of expertise out there. It's great to be able to capitalize on that. So you mentioned, the aging infrastructure. And so I imagine things like maintenance, ongoing maintenance and stuff is another thing. So when you're looking at extending training for your staff and making accessibility more prominent in that area, are you including things like the staff that are going out and doing the maintenance checks and stuff and ensuring that they're checking those accessibility issues are still, or that the accessibility is still there?
I think one of the elements we started with is really our visitor experience staff, who every day will have to have a conversation or providing information. And then we're working towards providing also sensibility training to all employees in every site, right? So it becomes a shared responsibility essentially to notice what is not accessible and what is accessible, right? It's a big endeavor. It's going to take time for us to get there, but we've started so that everybody can. I find accessibility for me, it's also like bilingualism, like it's a shared responsibility. So everybody has to partake in it. And yes, for sure, our field staff will be getting training at every level.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We talked a little bit about, I think, about budget and funding and things like that, because obviously a lot of this, it costs money. So in terms of prioritizing accessibility solutions in the parks budget, how do you balance that, and like which parks get prioritized? Are there metrics like, location or number of visitors and things like that get taken into consideration?
To be honest, we're working site by site, and who's ready to start looking at some of the infrastructure. Each site has their priority list in terms of working on making every facility safe. Now they work with our national team or with consultants to determine, okay, if we have to, fix this building, at the same time as well, make sure that everything is accessible, right? So, or at least some access. So that's not like there's a priority by more popular place, if I can say it like that, because you're talking about number of visitors. Like, I don't think that's what we want to do. Some sites, one of the elements that we've decided to work on at our level is looking at roofed accommodations, which I mentioned at the end for our OTAN 6. It's an easy step for us to look at every national park that has OTAN 6, all of them. What are their estates? Are they really accessible? Sometimes, I have to admit, we made them accessible with a ramp, but the washroom facility next to it is not accessible. So then that's the next step that we have to work with each site to move towards.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, slowly but surely it'll take time, but we want to try to do as many across the country as possible and not go necessarily by number of visitors.
No, that's great to hear. And yes, I know that these things take time, and a process getting to everything. So I think we have time for one final question, and it's the idea of meaningful equivalent experiences, where the to make something accessible is just either way too challenging for financial or environmental or historical reasons. So are there some examples of places in national parks currently with meaningful equivalent experiences?
Well, I'm trying to think quickly off the top of my head. There's one in the PEI this year where we've had equipment put in place for accessible for wheelchairs, so to be able to go on the beaches, and mats, right? So there's definitely a great, meaningful family activity that people can now do and all experience the wonderful beaches of PEI that are gorgeous. So that's one element that I can say, and it's not as very costly, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
There's
Well,
there's a ton more. I could have spoken for 10 more minutes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I
feel
know.
like I did this quick.
I'm realizing I think we could have run this conference for 7 days because there's so much to talk about. But thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate having you guys here today.
Thanks.
Merci.